Yeah, hi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Travis Henley, Senior Planner on the Comprehensive Planning and Urban Design side of the Planning Department.
Hi, Whitley Stavish, Associate City Attorney.
Dan Camacho, I'm the Executive Director for the Alliance for Keep Your Trees.
I'm Kate Cardamone. I'm a tree commissioner for the past 4 years.
Good morning, Sally Thigpen, City of Wilmington Parks.
Good morning, Tom Boland, Wilmington Tree Commission Chair.
Morning, Andrew Blank, Tree Commissioner.
I'm Richard Bunting from South 2nd Street.
Hi, Jeff Mason from 3rd Street.
Celeste Andrews, City Council.
John Collins, Oleander Drive.
And Haley Hopkins, Planning Department and Secretary for the Tree Commission.
Okay, and can we start on the phone? We'll start with Aaron.
Yes, Aaron Reese, Forestry Management Supervisor.
Okay, Judd.
Judd Watkins, Tree Commissioner.
Alana.
Hi, Alana Seaman. I'm also on the Tree Commission.
Joanne.
Joanne Daly, Tree Commission.
And Rainey. You're on mute, Rainey.
Rainey Wallace, Tree Commission.
Thank you. And is that you, Haley? Are you in the middle or? Yes. Okay, just wanted to be sure. All right, well, welcome all. And so the next item on the agenda is we want to approve the minutes from November 15th meeting. And I would like to do I hear a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Right.
Anybody opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. And then I'd also like to approve the minutes from the special meeting on November 22nd. Do I hear a motion to approve those meeting minutes? Anybody? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Cat, okay. Any discussion on the meeting minutes from the 22nd? All right, all in favor?
Right.
Anybody opposed? So moved, okay, so here we are. So we have Celeste Adams here, Andrews, sorry. Celeste Andrews here today. And we just want to recognize her and let her know that we appreciate her being here. And if she does have a few words to say, be more than happy to say them, or just want to be a part of the meeting.
Just want to be a part of the meeting.
Great, great. So, and no, we all appreciate you being here, and hopefully we can get you know, hopefully we can get more information to you so that you can continue to support all that we do, and not only you, but also the rest of the commissioners too. And again, thank you for being here. Heritage Tree Awards, Alana. You wanna, anything to say on that?
I am gonna have to pass the baton because I'm actually driving between classrooms right now. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so what I'll take over. So we have been measuring heritage trees. We just measured one last week, actually two of them, 2 pecan trees here in the city. So we're in the process of reviewing and evaluating them right now. And so that's And then we've measured, Haley, do you know how many we measured so far this year? Sure.
So we haven't done awards since 2019. So for our next awards, we'll be doing from 2020 to 2023, a little bit in 2024. From COVID, we kind of got lost in the program, it appears, but we have about 11 that we will be awarding.
Okay, and the process is we'll bring them into city council and have them nominated in city council, and then have city councilor review them and approve them and move forward from there. And then we can recognize each one of the 11 trees that we measured. Kathy, our other board member, has done a certificate. And I forwarded that on to the board and just want everybody to review it. And I would like to have feedback on that certificate so that we can start developing certificates for these 11 trees. And then be able to provide it to each one of the community members who have who nominated their trees. So the other thing is as I was thinking about all of the 11 trees that we've done, I'm sure I don't know if we've had any feedback to any of these community members to say where we are in the process. So I think what we probably need to do is have a more formal feedback to these community members, just to let them know that, you know, it's still in process or where we are in the process, so that, you know, we can continue to keep interest in this wonderful program. So and then Haley, do we have any missing data, or do we have everything that we need?
We do have some missing data, but I believe that Jim has that data, so that will be a conversation for us to have with him.
All right, so I'll follow up with Jim on that and talk to him about it. Heritage Tree Award data. Okay. So the tree ordinance and enforcement, as we look at our strategic planning committee updates, Jim has been working on this, and Jim wasn't able to be here. I haven't gotten an update from him. But what we wanted to do is make sure that people are aware of what the tree ordinance is within the community, so that you know, we can ensure that people are abiding by the tree ordinance. And if there is any potential concerns about people not following the tree ordinance, to be able to tell them, provide them with the information on what it truly is, and then how to communicate it. So, I mean, that was one area where I know there was some concern previously about people managing trees that weren't in line with the tree ordinance, whether or not it was taking trees down or trimming trees or doing other things like that. So that was one area that Jim wanted to make sure that we educate the community on. So the next one is the resource commitment was part of our strategic planning, and our SMART goal was to work with the city on implementing the urban forest master plan. And I know that there were some questions that I presented to both Sally and Aaron, and they did provide me with that information just recently. So I'll be able to forward it on to the appropriate people in regards to the street guidelines and tree removal and planting guidelines, along with tree root and sidewalk study report. So I just did receive that, so I'm able to then review it and then forward it on. But you know, the other thing we'd like to do is find out, Aaron, where are we on some of the projects associated with the urban forest management plan?
Slowly, but we're still working on it. I don't, don't have a really great answer for you right now, but we've got a few things that we are working on it. Our initial focus was, budget related items, which we're well into the budget process, for that fiscal year at this point. So, once we get past those particular items that were, mainly budget impact, we'll be having further meetings to look at those items that don't have as much of a budget impact or no budget impact, stuff that we can start the process in-house.
So based upon that, which one would be your priority as far as from a budget impact perspective? I mean, obviously there's a lot of to-do items on the urban forest master plan. I'm just curious, what is your number one focus? And then, you know, from that perspective, I mean, you or Sally can answer that, please.
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to jump in here. So the two, the top priority coming out of the urban forest master plan was to complete the street tree inventory. So Aaron and his team put together a justification packet for a budget submittal to go into the FY25 budget to start a 2-year phased approach for completing our street tree inventory. We estimate we're about a quarter done with all of the trees being inventoried within the 1945 limits. There's about 10,000 trees there. So Aaron, is that number accurate? You were around estimating maybe another 30,000 trees.
Yes, that's correct. My apologies. My video died. I cut out of the meeting there just as I was about to answer, but yes, that should be accurate number.
Okay. And are you looking to do contract that out? Are you looking to do that, or what are your plans as far as how you're going to implement that?
Yes, finishing the inventory, we would definitely be looking at contracting that out, just as we did the first round.
Okay. All right.
Does that inventory include genus and species, or is it just the size of the canopy and the breast height, diameter, et cetera?
It is genus, species, common name, basic risk assessment, DBH. There's quite a few fields of data that were collected there in that inventory. More than I can remember right offhand.
Okay. All right. Now, is there any other items on, I mean, there were some items on the urban forest master plan that didn't require budgetary things, or have you been able to address those, or what is your thoughts on those?
To be honest, we were so focused on the budget impacts, trying to prepare for this year's budget, that haven't had a chance to really dive into the rest of it, to put a plan together for any of those items yet.
Okay. And then the other question I have is in regards to have you thought about going out and get any grant funding for any of these projects, or taking the inflation, anything within the Inflation Reduction Act?
It is a possibility.
Okay. Have you identified any projects that you want to focus on or not?
Not at this time.
Okay. Is there anything we can do to assist you with that?
Can you repeat that, please?
Is there anything we can do to assist you with trying to help identify some of these and get some of these sort of checked off the list?
Not at this time. We'll have to dive into it again. Like I said, I think I believe we have another meeting scheduled, or will, if we don't already. Like I said, once we get past the budget cycle is what we're really focused on right now. So once we get past that, then we'll start diving into the others. If there's any that the commission can assist with, we will certainly pass that along.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions on the urban forest master plan while we're here?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Sorry, there we go. Not directly related to the urban forest master plan, but it is related to the tree ordinance. There are a couple small amendments to the land development code moving through the amendment process right now. They've been presented to the planning commission and received a unanimous recommendation of approval as part of a larger suite of amendments that touch on a number of things, but it's just there's two items and all they're doing is matching what's in the actual land development code to the definitions.
Okay.
One of the conflicts with regard to critical rezone. In the actual land development code itself, critical root zone was defined as 1.25 feet for every inch of trunk diameter, but in the definition of critical root zone, it was only an inch. So the definition is being revised to say 1.25 inches, or 1.25 feet, critical root zone, and in a similar vein, what was in the land development code for what is a regulated tree, significant tree, and specimen tree is defined by DBH. And in the definition of tree, the number of inches to be a significant or specimen tree was higher than what was in the actual land development code. So that definition is being revised to also go back to the lower number.
Okay. Thank you. Makes sense.
We thought so, but that'll be presented to council. Anticipating presenting it to council in February with their vote on the item in March.
Okay. Thank you. All right, and then the next strategic planning action item that we had was community education. So I was just curious from Alana or Kate, if you have any updates on community education.
I do not have any updates. I know I've been meaning to connect with Kate, and over the holidays, it just has not happened.
Yeah, I know. The other thing is I know we were trying to have a joint work group with the extension service, and I know Lloyd has been working, Lloyd Singleton, who's the extension service director, and has been working on some things with trees, but he's actually going to be retiring in a year and a half. And so he's focusing actually on the redevelopment of the arboretum and the physical structures within the arboretum. So we should probably, I should probably reach out to Lloyd to see who he's going to appoint to be part of that, but it could be Dan, is it 80 who's part of the alliance?
Yes.
Sorry.
Of course, you call it flat-footed. Call it last name.
Yeah, but
I should know that.
yeah.
It's Amy Mead.
Yes.
Yeah, Amy Need, yes. So I'll reach out to Amy Need, who's at the extension service, and she has a forestry background, so she'll be a great resource for us. And that way we can continue to focus on trying to get education out to the community about the value of trees within the city of Wilmington and the other areas, so, yeah.
Dan mentioned when I got here, I definitely wanted to work on this outreach to public schools and with programmatic, concepts for integrating their classroom experience with outdoor projects for trees. And Lloyd was pretty much working with planting trees, the correct way to plant trees, working with landscape people, whether it was contractors or whatever their role was in that. And I just thought it would be really wise to have, or helpful or useful to educate young people on the role of trees and do it like interactive, like field studies. So I've done that in my past. I mostly taught graduate and undergraduate, but I've done a lot of work with children, developing curriculum for them. So I'd like to be a part of that.
Sure.
And then I think under our education is that Does that include the tree list?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, that, I don't know where that is right now,
okay,
but Dan's willing to work on it, Andrew's willing to work on it, and all we want to do is clean it up, make it accessible, and determine what other lists we want to present. You mentioned, Jim and I have mentioned shore trees and shrubs and hedges, how to do hedges with natives. For those of you that don't know, this list is only natives. We're not promoting anything non-native.
yeah, I know, we had a lot of discussion about this back in November. And as a result of the holidays, I think we slowed down a little bit on our native tree list, and we just need to get that back up and back up and working on that project. I know that at the Arboretum, not the Arboretum, and we had was the Plant Fest, and we gave out our native tree list, and people were very receptive to really getting that list. So we need to get that out there again and be able to communicate it effectively with everybody so that they know which trees they can which trees we're promoting in order to maintain and help the environment. So
Tom, so could we maybe just talk for a second about the people that want to meet, and then we'll form a subcommittee?
sure.
Okay. So I don't know, Dan, you said you might be able to have time to do it.
Yes, I can do it.
Okay.
I'll
Lauren,
talk to
you
you,
said-
yeah.
And is there anybody else? And I know, Haley, you're behind me, right?
Yeah.
But you do our website, right?
Yes,
And would you like to be a part of that group or?
yes, I can be part of that.
Always.
You got room for one more here?
Man.
Yes.
Annie,
Wonderful.
I would be interested in being with that group.
So, maybe Tommy could send out my email and
Yep.
people could email me and we can come up with I'd rather do it in the next month because this is kind of lagged for 2 months.
Yep. Gotcha. All right, we'll do that. All right, anything else for community education? Next on the agenda is Dan, your updates and activities.
Microphone is very sensitive. Not shock everybody by sending into the table. We have a number of events coming up. On January 27th, we are having a tree distribution at Robert Strange Pool at 9 o'clock. This is in the south side, it's right by the MLK Center. We wanted to try a little bit different location this time. We traditionally have our distributions at Legion Stadium. We want to kind of move things around. We are trying a slightly more neighborhood centric approach with this tree distribution. And so the south side is definitely an area that needs trees. So we'll see how that goes. There are a lot of new logistics involved in this location, so we're trying to iron those out. Our next tree planting is February 10th. That also will be from Robert Strange Pool at 9 o'clock. We're hoping to plant between 64 and 90 trees in the south side neighborhood. I'm confident that we're going to hit the lower end of that number. We're still working on getting up to the 90. And then our last event for the year is a tree distribution at Legion Stadium, 9 o'clock.
On what day?
I'm sorry, March 9th.
Okay.
And just to follow on something that Kate said before about education, I used to be on the board of a school. And I know that when our environmental director was looking around for things to do, trees to plant, I think that there was sort of a dearth of information in terms of what we could do locally. And so if we had something like off the shelf that we could give to schools in terms of like, these are great trees to plant, because we plant crepe myrtles, I'm regretting that a little bit. But if we had like recommended mix of like wildflowers or whatever to scare insects. I think that would be a really useful tool for schools.
Yeah.
So I think that's something the Alliance is happy to work on, in conjunction with the tree commission. In terms of education, we were just talking about, I think I said this last time I was here, but at the World Forum on Urban Forestry, I was very surprised to learn about tree reluctance. And that is where people, I always assume that people would welcome trees, like trees, but there are a lot of neighborhoods that don't feel that way. They're a little bit, they think that leaves are sort of a pain in the butt to clean up. They didn't grow up with trees, so they don't really have like this built-in appreciation for trees that if you did grow up with them, you have. There is concerns about gentrification of the neighborhood if trees get planted. There's also some security concerns around trees. And so I think part of our outreach in terms of getting residents to accept trees is to focus on those arguments and try to counteract those arguments and point to the very many benefits that trees have, which we all know here. But anyway, in our outreach efforts, I think that should be an emphasis in recognizing that tree reluctance exists, which I didn't really know about until I took this job.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for me?
I do, and I've forgotten how it works with the Alliance, but, do you talk to the people that are the houses or the apartments are, they're planting the trees in the right of way in front of them? Do you talk to them about selection? I think we used to sometimes give them some choice between this and that.
Yes, so the way that it works, we are currently cold calling on houses, just knocking on doors, asking if they'd like a tree in front. Our tree ambassadors, sell the value in trees. But at this point, we do not offer them a selection because the way that the process works right now is if they are welcoming of a tree in front of their house, then Aaron goes out and determines what species can go there based on overhead and underground utilities, soil type, some conditions, whatever. So we don't have that information ahead of time to offer them a choice. But if they do have a preference, they sometimes do say, I would like this type of tree. And we convey that, and if we can honor that, we try to do that.
So, yeah, no, thank you. So is there anything that you need help from the Wilmington Tree Commission on?
I'm sure the answer to that is yes. But at this point, I am still trying to figure out, I'm trying to execute the grants that we have for this year, for the end of the planning season. I'm going to have a lot more time going into the next planning season to sort of plan for things so that we, our goal is to increase the capacity of our organization to plant trees. And so I'm trying to figure out what the bottlenecks are right now in terms of that are kind of holding us back. And so I think, coming out of the spring, I'm going to have a better idea on that. And I'd like to come up with a plan where we can work with the tree commission to address those things.
Okay.
The other thing that we're working on right now is our tree steward program. We finished our class in, I believe it was October, and we're going through the process of getting all of our tree stewards approved by the city. And right now, it's sort of, we don't really have to worry about watering so much because it's the winter. We get a lot of rain, but coming into the spring, we're going to be really ramping up in terms of trying to water all the trees that we planted to ensure their survival through the summer. So that's kind of going to be our emphasis coming into the spring.
Okay, so from what I hear is you're reviewing what some of the bottlenecks could be, and then you'll come to us and say, is there any way you can help us with these bottlenecks, right?
Yes, and I think one of those is going to be planting locations. Finding areas where we can put trees in. You would think that looking at our tree canopy maps, which we have quite a few of, that would be an easy process, but it is not quite as easy as you think in terms of like getting the approvals to actually put the trees in. So that's one of the things that we're focusing on and trying to think through. Can we become more efficient at doing that? Because right now we're spending a lot of resources getting permissions to put trees in.
Is that a requirement of who to get?
It's a requirement of the city.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I don't necessarily disagree with that requirement. There is, you don't want to plant trees where people don't want them.
Mm.
Because we've seen that they will either cut them down or put them up. So it's a reasonable requirement. We're just trying to figure out a way to be more efficient about doing it.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep. All right. So on to new business. So first item on new business is our budget request. So, Haley has attached a draft budget. This is the same budget we had last year, which was approved by the, city. So we would like to, go forward with the same budget request for this year. And be able to submit it. Does anybody have any questions about the budget?
Yeah. Hannah mentioned the tree awards have kind of been on hold since the pandemic, so just curious, based on, your comments with this is the same funding that we asked for last year, if we expect this to be enough, since we're actually doing 3 or 4 years worth of awards in kind of fiscal year here.
Good question. I would say that we're still working through all of our potential costs. We haven't incurred all these costs yet for this year's budget, so we might be able to cover everything with this year's budget and next year's budget.
Great, thanks.
So, any other questions from anybody? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the budget for submission to the city council? Anybody?
Yes.
Kate has a motion to approve this budget as is. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, any questions, concerns, comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No, so I take it passes. So thank you. All right, the next thing is Haley and the city are working on grant funding for an urban heat island mapping. So I'll turn it over to Haley. So, and if you don't mind just telling us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so the city is applying for an urban heat island mapping grant, and if we were to receive this grant, we would be sending volunteers and consultants on the ground to collect data on what they decide will or expect to be the hottest day of the year. So we'll be going all around the city. This is only within the city of Wilmington, to collect on the ground data, and then we can use this data for trees, for so many things when we add in social factors. The city has not had an urban heat island analysis in many years. We applied for this grant last year and did not receive it, so we are applying again, this time looking for support from other organizations just to show that we are on the city's side with getting this data.
So yeah, so I think this would be a good good data for the Wilmington Tree Commission, just so that we can understand the ramifications of where we are as from a heat perspective and the potential value of trees that might help to reduce some of these impacts of the heat. So I would be my recommendation that we support this and provide a letter of support to the city, saying that that the Wilmington Tree Commission fully is fully behind this initiative or this grant. Anybody have any thoughts, comments?
Again, at that conference I went to in DC on urban forestry, I know Phoenix now has a city position specifically dedicated to heat mitigation because that's such a huge problem. And I know that Phoenix is hotter than here, as are the other desert cities, but we are certainly a hot city and in the summertime. And the urban heat island effects really affect the health of people, especially in the areas with low tree canopy. So it should be on the radar you know, we're not gonna probably dedicate a city position to it. But it should be something we should be paying a lot of attention to, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what these results are gonna be.
So, yeah, didn't you tell me that you reviewed some heat analysis here and? You were surprised at what the results of it, right? Or,
Well, on the final day of that conference, they were showing some heat satellite imaging from space. And so you can see in urban areas, they're significantly hotter. And then they imposed or transposed a map of the old red line districting. And the heat map matched the red line districting. Tragically, it was very close. So you can see the results of red line districting even today in the heat disparities. And so that was, I think, what you're referring to.
okay. But I thought you also mentioned that at night you were surprised how hot it was here versus.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Okay, so another interesting, they were showing some more national heat disparity maps. And they showed heat disparity during the day versus heat disparity during the night. And one of the surprising things is that, you know, our temperatures went up during the day, pretty much, you know, in line with like other areas. What was surprising to me is at night, it appeared that our temperatures remained elevated more than surrounding areas. And so that was what I thought was particularly interesting. And I don't know if this study will reveal the cause of that, but it was interesting.
Yeah, and you know, it might also be a tree canopy could help reduce that as far as.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So if we're not cooling off as much during the night, that means our days are going to be hotter.
Yeah.
And so a tree canopy certainly is probably the top thing that we can do to sort of combat that.
Yeah. All right. So moving forward, do I have a motion to for a letter of support of the city of Wilmington applying for the urban heat island mapping grant? Anybody?
So moved.
Okay, Andrew, thank you. Do I hear a second? Kate seconds. Thank you, Kate. Any discussion, any comments, questions? All right, I vote. So, all in favor?
Yes.
Okay, anybody opposed? Okay, so it passes. Thank you very much. All right, next on the list is on the agenda is one thing that I'd really like to do is get out there is a calendar of all the events that Wilmington Tree Commission has to be, well, not has to be, but wants to be participating in. As an example, this weekend is Tree Fest in Wilmington at the Independence Mall. Now, I know there is a group within the city of Wilmington who is promoting this and pushing this. I would just want to make sure how we can get more involved in it. And so what my plans are is I'm going to go to Tree Fest and talk to people and see how we can get a little bit more engaged with them. Because it was, to be honest with you, it was like, oh, Tree Fest is coming up, but you know, they've been working on this probably for about a year and it hasn't been on our agenda. So what I'd like to do is make sure that things like this get put on our agenda and that we're aware of it or on a calendar so that we can also participate in it. We can, you know, maybe have representation there or whatever else. So that's ultimately what my goal is to try to get the Wilmington Tree Commission more out there in the public so that they know that, you know, there is a organization or that's supporting trees within the Wilmington area and you know, trying to you know, be that supporter. And I know that there's a lot of energy within Wilmington and the surrounding areas about trees. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that there is just, they're not alone, so to speak. So, so what I'd like to do is, see if we can pull that together. I'll work with Haley on it, but I mean, the next big things that are coming up are Arbor Day. So, and there's the National Arbor Day, and then there's also the state of North Carolina Arbor Day. So, you know, I don't know how many people realize that there's two different celebrations of Arbor Day in North Carolina, but there is, so. But, and then, you know, any other, you know, stuff going on at the Arboretum that relates to trees or plants. Or at any of the other locations, also tying in with the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees, just making sure that we do have representation there and you know, continue to support the other organizations that are focusing on trees. Anybody have any comments? Thoughts?
I'll just highlight that and Haley's been rebuilding the website and already has both of those Arbor Days on there. So she's on top of it, one of the people who knew about both. And the website continues to be a great spot for us to share those different activities. Both so that we have awareness as a commission, but also so the community can know where they can find us and get more information.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Andrew. All right. So next item on the new business is Jennifer Bloomberg and her family and her husband. Her husband's here and he has some tree concerns. So they approached us and wanted to present to us here at the Wilmington Tree Commission about their tree concerns. And just to let you know, we were at their house last week. Measuring their two pecan trees as potential submission for the Heritage Tree Awards. And they were very significant pecan trees, and so we're in the process of reviewing them and you know, gonna review them and then make the determination on how to move forward with them. So
Sounds good.
Yep.
I don't know the procedure. Do I need a mic? Do I, you know?
Please, because we have people on the.
Sure. Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks. I don't really know where to start. We do have a lot of concerns about a project going on in our neighborhood. When I say our neighborhood, actually our backyard neighbors. I don't have anything planned, so if anybody has questions, I will pass around to the few printouts. I know the people can't see them that are remote. But basically, I live at 412 South 3rd Street. We are the CW Workhouse Bed and Breakfast, if anybody knows it. My neighbor Richard is also here. He is at 409 South 2nd. And in between us is a neighbor at 411 South 2nd that has a very large scale planned project that includes a in-ground pool, a garage, a cabana, and they are basically about to destroy our trees that are on our property that come close to their property. I say that because we've had arborists come out from Bartlett Tree Experts, as well as I can't recall his name, Doug White, who is an independent arborist, and I do have the reports from them. I won't read you all of it, but basically they have looked at our trees. We have a pecan tree about estimated between what 60, we've looked at 60 and 100 years old, something like that. Richard has an oak tree. The pecan was given a health rating after this construction may take place of 56. And we're told that anything below a 59 is a tree is expected to decline during or after the construction, regardless of how the construction is performed, as well as they estimate that approximately 50% of the critical root zone will sustain damage, and that there's no preservation techniques that they could use in construction to avoid this. Same thing on your side with your oak tree. So basically this, and I'll pass around this. Of course, I have the report if anybody wants to see it from Bartlett. I also have a signed affidavit from another arborist stating that construction should not take place in this, that these trees will not survive. The critical root zones go out too far. They're all intertwined. And we brought this to the city's attention to give you a little background, for a long time now, this started with the HBC hearing on this project. They dismissed our concerns, did not take their guidelines into consideration at all when it came to landscaping, made statements about how they're not allowed to make landscaping decisions, all of this, which I'm sure you all know is inaccurate. And then we appealed that decision to the Board of Adjusters. The Board of Adjusters says, well, the HBC let you speak, there's nothing they can do, basically. We took it as far as the Superior Court, and the Superior Court agreed that at least the HBC lets you speak. Therefore, there's nothing they can do. There was no, our rights were not violated, for lack of a better term, if you will. So no one really has determined if this is an appropriate project or not. We of course feel it's not, based on all this expert evidence. But nobody seems to listen to us from the city, because they'd like to give the canned answer of, well, the court determined. And they are inaccurate in that the court never determined that this was an appropriate project, just that the HBC gave us the opportunity to speak. We then tried to fight the project itself in court, and the court would not hear it. They determined that if this went to jury trial, we may not meet the bar of a jury hearing. So they never gave us the opportunity to even hear the case. So if any of you are concerned and you do raise this to the city, and they want to give you that response of, oh, this has been decided by the court, it has not, just that our rights were not violated, but decided by the courts. So I will pass around too, as an aside. I know nobody here can see this, but this is basically an aside. I just want you to know what the HBC is approving these days without a public hearing. This is a picture taken from the exact same location. Two of them is a before and after, as the neighbors at 411 South 2nd Street took down 14 trees in their backyard without going to HBC public hearing for approval. They just told them that they believed they were invasive, and therefore the HBC said take them all down. I'll show you the before. You can go on and pass around the before and afters of what their lot looked like and what it looks like today. Again, those pictures are taken from the same spot. And then I'll also pass around the proposed project printouts, so you can see. We have the in the upper right, we have the property where it says pecan. On the lower, kind of the middle left here, Richard has a property where it's circled oak, and the yellow is the property that is proposing to do this, put up the garage, pool, the cabana, and so on, just so you can get an idea of the scope. And the outer perimeter circled is the critical root zone as it's been defined from our understanding. And that is a lot of what I wanted to say. I just also wanted to know that these guidelines, I believe, are from the tree commission's guidelines that I have printed out here, so they probably look, similar to you. There are things that we circled that talk about how trees within 20 feet of a site plan must be protected. That has not been taken into consideration with their plans. There is also a statement in here that states that disturbance of a critical root zone shall not exceed 20% without the prior approval of a city manager. I'm sure that has not taken place. None of this was brought to any city manager's attention. I would almost guarantee. So we really are at a loss of why all these guidelines are being basically not followed, how this project could move forward when we have two independent arborists stating nearly 50% of the critical root zone will be disturbed by this project, and that these trees will likely decline and most likely die in the next 3 years. So basically the permit number, if anyone is interested on this project, it's been broken down into garage and cabana with a pool with a separate permit number, which is not up for review, but tomorrow, permit number 24-00698, as it states in the code system, is up for residential accessory review. If there's anything that anyone has any concerns of anything that I'm stating to you, here's another last print that I'll pass around. This is maybe a little bit shows it's kind of similar to what that was, with a little less drawing on it, and it's also a picture of our pecans to show the proximity of where the project plans to take place. To the right side of that pink stick is where the project plans to take place. To the left is the base of our pecan tree. And I don't know if anybody has any questions for me of what's about any of this, or kind of clear what we're stating. We're just asking for anyone's help. As you know, there is a state, actually a state of North Carolina statute that states that no one can knowingly damage your property, proceed with a project that will knowingly cause damage to somebody else. It is considered, I think, a class 1 misdemeanor or whatever they classify it as. So this has been brought to the city's attention. This has been brought to our neighbors' attention. It's been dismissed every time. We're not sure why. In fact, we have brought it to your attention, which we appreciate everything that you've tried to do so far with it. I think you were getting the answer of the court has decided, which again, I was trying to state that was inaccurate. The court decided that the HBC heard our issues. That's all they decided, not the appropriateness of this project. And no one has decided that on behalf of Richard as well, who's also in the same boat we are. In case that's the answer you're given, if any of you can help. I know there was something that you had mentioned that Kathy Egan, who's on the HBC, mentioned that I believe Aaron Reese, who's on the meeting, this may fall into his court. I don't know, but that's what you were told, correct? Just to let y'all know, I don't know. That's really about it. Does anyone any comments, questions? Does this seem like usual behavior for the city, or to not take these trees into consideration, to not take our concerns into consideration, to just let trees die because of a project?
I would just like to add, it wouldn't be appropriate for the board to comment on legal issues.
Okay. But I mean, it's not a legal issue anymore. This is not in the court system. This is.
Well, we have had a threat of litigation from your wife via email, so it would not be appropriate to comment by the board.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think that was an accurate statement to, you know, knowingly allowing damage to continue based on the statute. I meant, you know, someone's responsible, and certainly not us, for the cost of the removal of these trees when they do die. So.
No, thank you for bringing it to our attention, and yeah, I mean, we can. Based upon, as far as a comment, I have no comment at this time, and
sure.
But yeah, I mean, the Wilmington Tree Commission is for trees, so.
Yeah. Hope so. And litigation is not necessarily towards the city. It would be legally, it could be towards the neighbor for causing the damage. Just to clarify, somebody will be responsible, and again, not us, for the damage and causes. So.
Yeah. No, thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Okay. And hopefully you care.
Hi, I'm Dan. I'm the executive director for the Alliance for Keep Your Trees. And I know that as an organ, as a board, we can't comment on this. I'm also your neighbor. So this does concern me. So I'm speaking as a private individual. But I can tell you from years of living downtown and having to deal with HDC, there are little loopholes that can be exploited. And perhaps this is a case of that. So I do think it is within our purview to sort of like, I don't know if we can do anything to help you, but I would certainly be interested in looking at those loopholes and trying to see if there's a way that we can tighten those up so this doesn't happen going forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want to add?
Anything?
Thank you. Again, and I won't comment on the litigation thing again. It's, you know, it wasn't necessarily directed towards the city. And Richard has not made any comments like that, and he has the same 100% concerns I do. So you know, that's, I don't want anybody just to hide behind that. So
I agree.
Is it, I did not request to speak. Is it appropriate me to just make a comment?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Richard Bunting, the one thing that concerns me is it doesn't seem to be anybody who can make decisions. When we came to present all of this stuff, I'm concerned about the canopy of all of Wilmington. And so when these projects come up, I don't know if it's your purview or it has to be the city, that the people who are, you know, involved in all of this, who can make decisions that go before the HPC? I mean, is there anybody in the city itself that can go before the HPC and say, we disagree with this based on these facts? I mean, when I contacted Mr. Reese a couple of years ago, he said it was not his job. And Kathy Egan told me, yes, it is. So that's where I am.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's something I wish you guys would take up with, I don't know if it's the city or whoever, to find some point of contact that can, you know, deal with these issues, because they're gonna keep coming up.
Right, yeah, no, that's a good point. You know, and that's something that we'll write as to do. To see, you know, there's. You know, I've been chair for about a year and a half, and you know, this is the first time that something like this has been presented to me. So I don't know what previous chair was Jim, but Jim is not here today, so he might have some history with this. So let me check with Jim and see what goes, how we've approached this previously. But like I said, we've never had this type of thing be presented to the Wilmington Tree Commission before. So and we'll see how we can, we'll do some of our research and see how we can move forward with it.
Thanks.
I just also wanted to point out that the HPC is, they do not know what they can rule on. Jessica Baldwin in particular has given the approval for those 14 trees that she'll do that were taken down, which is not really our concern anymore. They're gone. The two remaining are. And then Richard raised a concern to her about pool equipment that was being moved next to his property. She called that landscaping and said the HBC cannot make rulings on landscaping. So we're not sure how you give approval for tree removal in one breath and then say we cannot rule on landscaping in the other. I think clarification from you guys on what they should. I'm sure you're aware that they also have landscaping guidelines. There's an entire section of landscaping guidelines for the Historic Preservation Committee. They are unaware of this. So maybe education from you guys on what they should and should not be doing, that'd be helpful as well going forward.
Historic Preservation Committee is appointed by council, and Wilmington Tree Commission does not advise Historic Preservation Committee. So that would not be appropriate.
Okay. Well, so they don't know what they're doing. Let's just put it that way. But that's really about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
no, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right. Go ahead. So you have, so sorry, I forgot your name in the back there. Oh. So Celeste, do you have anything to say, or you want? Yeah. All right. Anybody else have anything to add to the meeting? Yes, Kate.
The Environmental Book Club in Wilmington, we just finished a book and discussed it last night called The Insect Crisis. And for those of you that are not aware, we all know the honeybees have had a lot of problems, but those bees are not even native. But the book pointed out that in the last 20 years or so, there's been an enormous decline in insects of all species in ground. Decomposers that decompose not only our woody and our leaf debris, but also animals and insects and all sorts of biological creatures is decomposed by certain beetles. And so it's not just honeybees, it's all insects. And we're so dependent on them for seed production, pollination, and for, you know, food production. And it just goes on how dependent we are on them. And people probably are not aware that while this mass extinction is going on, I believe in Europe, the last data that they collected was between 70, 80, and even 90% collapse. And insects evolved predating dinosaurs. And so their coevolution with us it's hundreds of years old. and thousands of years old. So for their collapse to happen since the Industrial Revolution, and especially with use of herbicides and insecticides and removal of forests and land and trees, it's critical. We're aware of it, and we have policies that protect the insects, because without the insects, we don't have a future. I'm sorry to alert you to this, but maybe you already knew it.
Thank you, Kate. Yes. All right, anybody on the phone have anything, or on the video? Anybody have anything to say? All right. So I call the meeting to adjourn. So. Thank you very much. The next meeting is 9:30 on Wednesday, February 21st. Thank you all for joining, and look forward to working on some of the action items from this meeting or next meeting. So take care and have a great day and the rest of the month.